Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us here today. I think I jinxed us on Monday when I said it would be my last press conference, but where would we be without another weather event in Seattle during my administration? The National Weather Service has reported that Seattle and the King County area will be experiencing dangerously low temperatures and possibly snow into the new year. This dangerous cold will be the lowest and coldest temperatures that we've seen in more than a decade in Seattle. Reid will be talking to you about what you can expect from the weather-wise as soon as we get his technology working. But at the city, we will continue to monitor this closely with our partners across the region. We want our communities prepared for winter weather as we head into the coldest and wettest months of the year. I had an emergency briefing of my emergency cabinet earlier before this press conference. I was also able to be joined by Senior Deputy Mayor-elect Monisha Harrell so that we can make sure that whatever we're doing, that the handoff for those events will also be very smooth after the first of the year. Before I talk about the weather, I want to talk again about Omicron and really acknowledge the surge we are seeing in our area and in the Seattle region. Trust me, we've all been through this pandemic, and Omicron now is surging greater than any of the other variants that we've seen. And surging at a time when people are preparing to be with their families, their loved ones, and traveling. To all the residents and businesses of Seattle, we've done the right things each step of the way. We have almost 90% of Seattle residents who've either started or completed their vaccines. We've been leading the country every step of the way. Because we're one of the most vaccinated and boosted, we hope that we will have less severe impacts of this variant of COVID. We don't know enough about Omicron yet. I talked to two of the presidents of the large hospital systems today just to get an assessment of where they are, and really want to urge people, please, if you can stay home, not just because of Omicron, but because of the weather we're going to have. Second, if you're going to gather, please don't gather in large groups. This is much more contagious than previous versions of COVID. Third, get vaccinated, get boosted, wear your mask. It's going to be so critical to be wearing masks, particularly indoors. We know now that this peak will surpass our peak with Delta. That's how contagious it is. And talking to the hospitals, you know, our healthcare providers have been at this a long time. They, like some of the people you'll hear about today, are really tired and depleted, and our hospitals are full. So even if we have milder symptoms, which we hope that the research showing that is true, we have enough people who are unvaccinated and enough people that will get serious symptoms that it could put a strain on our healthcare system. So as I heard someone say on television today, no gathering that would be happy today will be worth it if you're grieving in a week. So please make good decisions. We've been doing that all along. Quite frankly, I think that in many ways this weather is saying if you're not going to listen to your mayor, listen to the powers that be. It's going to snow, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cold, stay home. At the city, we are preparing for the ice, rain, wind, and freezing temperatures, which creates a whole series of challenges for our city and our residents to respond to. As mayor, I've now overseen more than 20 extreme weather events, including the snowiest month in 50 years in 2019, and the snowiest day in 50 years earlier this year. We also had the hottest weather in our history. I am so proud of our city employees and how they have stepped up and responded throughout this pandemic and before the pandemic to a series of events. But this pandemic really has stretched every one of our departments thin. We are now seeing that staffing is being affected by COVID itself, and it's the holidays. So I really want to thank the city employees in a way that everyone can help them, help you, and help our hospitals, is to do those things that I've said. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay off the streets. If you gather, please gather in small groups close to your home. Wear a mask indoors, get vaccinated, get boosted. You can also help out your neighbors. We said it before in previous events, but help your neighbors shovel the sidewalks. Those sidewalks can become treacherous, particularly given the weather we're looking at, very cold weather that we could have thawed and freeze and thawed and freeze. We know that can make our sidewalks and streets the most treacherous. Beginning on Friday into the new year, the Seattle Department of Transportation will be operating 24/7 shifts to keep our 1,200 miles of emerald and gold routes clear of snow and ice. And Rodney Maxie is going to tell you some more of that from the Seattle Department of Transportation. Our Human Services Department is working in partnership with King County, the King County Regional Homeless Authority, Parks, FAS, and the Seattle Center to bring hundreds of our unhoused neighbors inside during these cold events. Tanya will be discussing those in a moment. But know that we will have approximately 2,800 current shelter beds and opening approximately 200 new overnight shelter beds in Seattle and creating a number of warming shelters that we are developing now, and we'll have information on all those available. At Seattle City Light and Seattle Public Utilities, they will be working around the clocks to ensure that residents have access to the essential services, and Debra Smith will be talking about some of the things that City Light is doing to make sure people can stay warm. I also want to acknowledge that Omicron is hitting our city employee workforce, including many of our frontline workers at the Seattle Fire Department, Seattle Police Department, Seattle Department of Transportation, and our other utilities. So these people who are working 24/7 really are picking up the load for the people who can't come in. And again, people don't realize it, but even during those times when so many people were able to work from home and stay home, we had those same employees showing up every day, our road crews at SDOT, our parks employees, public utilities. And so please be kind to each other, take really smart steps. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Reid Wolcott, who's with the National Weather Service, who's been briefing us in recent years, and then we'll go through the departments that I've indicated. Thank you so much. And Reid, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Durkan and the City of Seattle for hosting today. I'm Reid Wolcott, the Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Seattle. We're looking at a long duration cold snap that will impact the entire Pacific Northwest region through the next week. Currently, the most likely time frame for snow showers in the Seattle area will be from Saturday evening through Sunday night. And while we will almost certainly see snow accumulations in Seattle, our main concern at this time is the cold that will envelop the region from Sunday onward. Daytime high temperatures across Seattle may struggle to reach freezing every day next week. Overnight lows are currently forecast to drop to around 20 degrees, but could drop as low as the single digits. The worst of the cold is expected Monday through Thursday of next week. But regardless of the exact temperatures, any moisture that's left untreated on surfaces, sidewalks, etc., will refreeze during the overnight hours, creating slick conditions each day. Temperatures much below normal could last well into early January. It's important to make preparations now. Make plans to prepare your home, your pets, your vehicles for cold weather. Temperatures of this magnitude will bring a high risk of cold-related impacts, including frostbite and hypothermia, to those that are unprepared and those without access to effective warming. I'll leave you with this. This is a rare event. It's been many years since those of us at the Weather Service in Seattle have seen forecast data like this, much like the heat event that we experienced earlier this year. We urge everyone to make plans now to check in and ensure their loved ones, neighbors, pets, and the entire community remain safe and healthy over the coming week. Thank you.
Thank you, Reid. Next, we will be hearing from Rodney Maxie, Seattle Department of Transportation.
Good afternoon. My name is Rodney Maxie. I'm the Deputy Director for SDOT. And we will be starting augmented services starting Christmas Eve, 7 a.m. on Friday. We are bringing in crews and starting our 24-hour operation. We know that the weather's changed now. We're going to get rain, and we may get snow and ice mix. And with all due respect to the National Weather Service, we've just learned from experience that it's always a good idea to be prepared 24 hours before a storm might hit, because the storm could come early. So we're preparing that way. We will continue 24-hour operations through the night on Friday, and then at 7 a.m., we are hoping that we will get a a little bit of a break there from the rain and be able to do pre-treatment. Unfortunately, on Friday or 24 hours in advance of the storm, we're not going to be able to pre-treat because the de-icer and the magnesium chloride doesn't mix with rain. But we are prepared to keep 24-hour shifts going all the way through Wednesday and all the way through New Year's if necessary. We've been able to secure a large number of staff off of vacation, but like Mayor Durkan said, we are getting hit, unfortunately, by the continued pandemic and Omicron. But thank you for the support from the other city departments. SPU, City Light, and Parks have offered SDOT additional plow drivers and additional hand crews. The one thing that we want to prep everybody for is that our usual customer service when it comes to bike lanes and sidewalks, we won't have those capabilities this time until Sunday night. So we're primarily going to work on keeping the 1,200 lane miles of arterials to the hospitals, stores, and essential businesses, and keep transit moving. We'd like to encourage anybody that does have to travel during the storm to use transit and stay off the road with your other vehicles so that you could give our plow operators the opportunity to pre-treat the road between storms as much as possible. We want to thank everybody for their support. We do want people to check on their neighbors because we're worried about people that don't have family when it gets this cold. We want to make sure that people don't set fires or bring barbecues inside their house because we're concerned about emergency response. And we just thank Mayor Durkan and the new Mayor Harrell's administration for all the support that we're getting to be prepared for this weather emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. And next we will hear from DeAnna Martin from King County Metro.
Good afternoon. I'm DeAnna Martin, Chief of Staff at King County Metro. At King County Metro, our eyes are on the weather and we're ready to go if necessary. Our goal is to keep service moving safely as road conditions allow. If buses are rerouted or trips must be canceled, we want riders to be prepared. We'll have a reduced schedule on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day as pre-planned for holiday service. If conditions make it necessary, we have snow routes and emergency snow routes ready to be put into service. Metro staff have been coordinating with cities across King County so snow clearing efforts can support transit service to the greatest extent possible. Buses operate on snow routes when road conditions deteriorate, and our vehicle maintenance staff will chain up some or all of the bus fleet depending on what kind of storm hits. We've already started providing riders with information about how we respond to adverse weather, pointing them to metrowinter.com to sign up for transit alerts, review our snow guide, and familiarize themselves with how to find out if their route is operating or if it's on a snow route. Once a rider's ready to travel and they've confirmed their route is operating, we encourage them to consult with one of our real-time tools, like the Puget Sound Trip Planner, Next Departures, or Text for Departures at 62550 to see if their desired trip is on schedule. As new information becomes available this week, we'll continue to share updates on Twitter, through transit alerts, and on our metrowinter.com page if disruptions occur. And that information is available in all 10 languages of the top languages spoken in King County. Thank you.
Next, we're going to invite Tanya Kim from HSD. Thank you, Tanya.
Good afternoon. I am Tanya Kim, the Acting Director of the Seattle Human Services Department. I'm going to focus in and provide a little bit more detail on how we're supporting our unsheltered neighbors. I wanted to let you know that beginning this weekend, the city is operating 2 severe weather shelters for people experiencing homelessness. And so again, focusing on above and beyond what we're currently doing. We are activating for 5 nights, starting this Saturday, December 25th, through Wednesday, December 29th, and we'll continue to monitor forecasts, just as spoken already, to assess emergency shelter needs beyond the morning of Thursday, the 30th. And so we've got the 5 days planned, but we're going to assess as conditions continue. The 2 shelter locations are the Seattle Center Exhibition Hall and Compass Housing Alliance Shelter in Pioneer Square. I'm going to give you an overview and then go a little bit deeper into each one. Both facilities will open nightly at 7 p.m. They're accessible by public transit and provide additional 180 to 200 emergency shelter spaces for individuals experiencing homelessness. Guests are accepted throughout the night until shelters reach capacity. So the first that I'll go into is the Seattle Center Exhibition Hall, which can serve 100 plus people and will be operated by our partner, Salvation Army. This is located at 301 Mercer Street. Guests will enter in a specific location off of Mercer Street and go down the stairs. This is super detailed, and we have shared this information on our website as well as press releases. We want you to know that this serves all genders, adults 18 years and older, and non-aggressive leash dogs and cats under the owner control are allowed. The City Center Campus Hygiene Station is accessible, and the adjacent armory opens for day warming at 10 a.m. The second location is in Pioneer Square and will be operated by Compass Housing Alliance Shelter. That address is 210 Alaskan Way South. So guests here will enter on South Washington and Alaska Way. This location, again, is open for all genders, adults 18 years and older. And at this location, service animals only are allowed. In addition, Compass Alliance has a day center on site. We want to be really clear that we're, as Mayor Durkan cautioned, that we are ensuring that our emergency shelter spaces do follow the COVID-19 safety and screening protocols for guests, including added air filtration, physical distancing, and increased sanitation and hygiene. Providers will also follow the public health protocol for isolating any potentially symptomatic guests. I spoke about the support that we have for our adult population. Wanted to highlight a couple more resources, and then I'll lead you to our website with ongoing resources that are actively being added. So city staff are working with the YWCA and Mary's Place to coordinate sheltering for families with children and youth shelters. And so people, including youth in need of shelter, should call 211 or 1-877-211-9274. Parents or guardians caring for one or more child 18 years or younger can get emergency shelter help by calling the King County Coordinated Family Intake Line. That number is 206-245-1026, and their hours of operation to take those calls are 8 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., and that's year-round. So we want to make sure that people know to call that resource. And finally, the YWCA's Women and Family Shelter Intake Line can be reached at 206-461-4882. We have a variety of daytime options. We have, of course, our Seattle Public Libraries, Seattle Armory. We're looking at other spaces too. And so please do make sure that you promote our website, which is seattle.gov/winter weather for updated information. And then finally, I do want to just underscore something that Mayor Durkan has acknowledged, that our city colleagues are working around the clock, and want to do a special shout out to our contracted providers, our social service workers who are doing the good work and also short-staffed. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanya. We'll now be going to Debra Smith from Seattle City Light, and then we'll circle back to Lee Fanning at Washington Department of Transportation. Debra, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks so much, Derek, and thank you for having me today. I'm Debra Smith, General Manager and CEO of Seattle City Light. City Light is prepared for any snow that comes our way, as well as for the cold weather that seems certain over the next week or so. So just a little background, Seattle City Light is what's called a winter peaking utility. So we generally experience our highest loads on the system during the winter months. And this weather event, as already mentioned by Reid from NOAA, is kind of unprecedented or very unusual in terms of the cold and the number of days we expect to see that happen. So while we have done our best to estimate what those loads may be over this next period of time, we don't have a lot of historical data to make those numbers solid. So right now, though, we are anticipating in a normal winter is for us about 15 to 1600 megawatts as the peak. And we are looking at December 27th, excuse me, with a peak of almost 2000 megawatts, which is actually very close to our peak ever, which occurred back in 1990. So it really is going to be quite a cold event. Because of the cold, our primary goal is to ensure that we're able to respond to outages that may come from a car hitting a pole, if we have any icy conditions, even though we may not get any significant accumulation of snow. And we need to be ready and able to get the power restored as quickly as possible so that you, our customers, can stay warm and safe. So that's what we're doing. We have line service staff on site, or will have beginning Saturday afternoon, going through Sunday evening. Of course, we'll be flexible and adjust those schedules as needed. We are assured that we have adequate staff who are prepared to come in and do the work for the customers that we serve. And again, if we do experience outages, I would direct you to either our website and or social media, where we do our very best to keep folks informed about our best estimate of when service will be restored. So I would point you there. I also really, we've done some information recently. We do it every winter. If by chance you see a downed power line, assume it is live. That is the most important thing you can know. If you see something on the ground, assume it is live, even if it looks like it's not. Assume it's live, stay away, and contact our emergency number to ensure that it's been reported. Lastly, I really want to give a shout out to the City Light employees who, like other city employees, have been working throughout the pandemic, frontline responders, and here we are with another weather event. So my hat's off to all of you, and I cannot thank you enough for your service to Seattle and to the people that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. And now, Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Lee Fanning, the Maintenance and Operations Manager for WSDOT. Thank you for joining us. Whenever we have widespread lowland snow, it's always challenging. That said, safety is our first priority. We want everyone to get home at the end of the day. That goes for both the traveling public and our crews on the road. For drivers, be prepared for possible delays and ensure you carry winter travel gear. Stay informed. It's even more important to check weather and conditions before you leave. And during travel, never check from behind the wheel. Use WSDOT's main tools to keep informed of conditions and any possible closures or alerts. Please remember to give our crews extra space to work. We're always monitoring the forecast to make sure we have the proper resources and staff ready to go. Our practice is to pre-treat and plow as needed. During an event, we prioritize the interstate and fan out into outlying areas. WSDOT clears roadways based on its priority route system, focusing on major interstates, first to maximize efficiency and clear roadways for the largest number of travelers. We work closely with first responders as well as our city and county partners, but we also need help from the traveling public. If you need to travel, make sure your vehicle is prepared and that you are capable of the driving of the conditions. Be prepared and stay informed. Know before you go. Again, if you see us on the road, please give us the room we need to work safely. Thank you, and be safe.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you to everyone who joined us today to deliver an update from their departments. I'm now going to hand it back over to Mayor Jenny Durkan, who is going to lead us through Q&A. One quick note before we get started is that we will be taking questions from inside of the room as well as via WebEx. So I think for the sake of simplicity, we will start with in the room, and then we will switch over to WebEx. So,
Perfect. I just want to again thank all the department leaders and other leaders who are here. today and on the screen who have just kept showing up through event after event after event. And I also want to particularly recognize Sam Zimbabwe, who briefed me this morning on this. We made Rodney come in and do the press stuff, and Jesus Aguirre, who have been leading Seattle Department of Transportation, Seattle Parks Department, who are going to other opportunities. They have been phenomenal leaders during these past 2 years in just extraordinary circumstances, having to manage their departments through some of the toughest times, bringing their people in every day to work through a pandemic, those frontline workers. And so, Jesus, thank you to you. Sam, if you're out there listening, thank you to you. From the first minute, I think his first day on the job before he was actually even on the payroll, he was at a press conference upstairs talking about the viaduct. And it hasn't stopped since then. So I just want to thank him for his work, thank all the other leaders, and thank the businesses and residents of this great city. We'll get through this week. It'll be cold. It'll be hard. We'll get through it, but we're going to get through it a lot easier if everybody does their part. And that, questions? Tammy, go ahead.
Mayor, can you kind of just talk to us? You mentioned some of the challenges you guys had navigating city workers working around the clock. I think some people at home might forget that our city workers are human too, and also navigating this Omicron variant and talking about the challenges and how you guys are navigating through that and how that's going to impact the response during this weather event.
You know, thank you, Tammy, for that really great question. I think people do forget, because so many people were able to work from home, that so many of our city workers, the majority of them, had to show up every single day through the pandemic, and they were exposing themselves to the virus, maybe exposing their families, working really long hours, and they've been at that for 2 years. We also, whenever you have community spread of the virus of this kind, it's going to hit our workforce too. And so more people are getting COVID, and that requires the people who don't have it to work longer shifts. So, you know, I have every confidence they'll do what they need to do, but I just urge the people of Seattle, be patient. Be patient, be kind, and be smart. If you don't have to leave your house, stay inside. Every time you leave your house, you may be putting not just yourself at jeopardy, but making it harder for those city workers to have to keep you safe. So thank you for that question.
Hi, Mayor. Andrew Scheinthal with Cairo 7. It sounds like this storm is kind of a mix of everything. We're going to see rain, freezing rain, drastically cold temperatures. Is this kind of the perfect storm situation that the city is dealing with that they haven't for so long? And at what point, maybe snow levels or temperature levels is kind of that breaking point where we go from maybe a cold weather event to something that's now becoming dangerous for the community?
It's a really good question. You know, weather forecasting is, all due respect to my friends from NOAA, is one of those jobs that you can be wrong half the time and people still ask your opinion, because the weather can fluctuate so quickly, particularly these kinds of events. As Rodney Maxie said, we got to prepare for the worst and hope that it's not that bad. And so they will be prepared on the roads before the snow is expected to come, and preparing those streets, having things ready. We have line crews ready at City Light if trees fall, if people hit poles, all the things we need to do. But this could go in a bunch of different directions. You know, when I was growing up as a kid here, every time they predicted snow, it seemed we didn't get it. But climate change is real. You know, we had a period of the hottest weather ever in this city, and now we may have the period of the coldest weather. And so our city is adapting and changing to that. And really, it's you see this collaboration across departments and making sure that people are working and talking together.
Hello, Mayor Durkan. I'm Xiaoyan from Chinese Radio Seattle. My question is, during the severe weather, will the city help the homeless move to the shelters, or they go there themselves? Thank you.
It's a great question. I think similar to previous weather events, it will be all of the above. We'll try to make sure that people in encampments know where there is. We will also be distributing the addresses of every shelter and warming place to Seattle Police Department, Seattle Fire Department, so that they, when they're out doing their duties, can respond. We'll obviously have Health One and others know where those resources are. So it really will be everybody working together to see what we can do to bring people who are at most risk inside.
Thank you, Mayor Durkan, and thank you for everyone who had a question in the room. We are now going to pivot to our online questions. So our first question will come from Christine Pei, King 5, followed by Casey Martin, KUOW. Christine, the floor is yours. Christine, if you are talking, you are not coming through, so we will actually go over to Casey.
Hello,
Oh, wait, there you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Hello, Mayor Durkan. Thank you very much for the time and happy holidays. This is a little bit separate to the weather updates that we're getting this week. With President Biden announcing the millions of free at-home testing and looking ahead to Christmas and the New Year, there's very high demand for some of these at-home tests. Is there any conversation or discussion with the state or maybe even the federal government in terms of how people might be able to acquire some of these free at-home tests in coming days or perhaps weeks?
Yeah, I know that Governor Inslee's office has been working closely with the White House to see what the distribution chain could look like. I think the plan was to use the Department of Health and CDC lines they had, but I think they're revisiting that because they want to get these tests out as quickly as they can. The city, of course, will do anything we can to assist on that front. And as soon as we know what inventories are here, we'll help. The city will likely also be into the new year. So Mayor-elect Harrell's administration, I'm sure, will continue to work with the county and the state and the federal government. We really need that federal government to step up and distribute those. But again, I want to really emphasize the best way not to need a test is to not expose yourself. Get vaccinated, get boosted, wear your mask, stay away from large gatherings. And if you do those things, you're going to do the most you can to protect you and your family.
Christine, follow up. Christine, you may be muted again.
No, that's it. Thank you very much,
Okay,
Mayor
thank
Durkan.
you.
Thank you, Christine. Happy holidays to you.
Our next question will come from Casey Martin, KUOW. Casey, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much. I had a couple of questions about the severe weather shelters. The first one was the total number of beds. I heard that it was 100 plus at the Seattle Center, but for the Compass Housing Alliance, could you confirm how many beds are available there?
Yep, I'm going to have Tanya Kim, if your second question is on that too, so she can address that. Come on up, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
So we have 100 plus at the Seattle Center Exhibition Hall and about 80, give or take, at the Compass Housing in Pioneer Square.
Great. And I was also curious, they open at 7 p.m. When do they close? When do people have to leave in the morning?
They're 12-hour operations, and they do also have adjacent day centers as well.
Great. Thank you, Casey, for the questions, and thank you, Mayor Durkan and Tanya, for the answers.
Thank you, Tanya.
We have one more question right now that is a write-in from the Seattle Times, so I will read that, but I will go ahead and take this opportunity to say if there are any additional questions from folks who are attending virtually, please drop me a note in the chat so we can get those asked. So the question from Seattle Times, Anna Patrick asks, I'm just wondering what impacted the city's decision to open night emergency weather shelters versus 24/7 shelters?
Yeah, I will have Tanya Kim address that as well, and then I'll follow up with if there's need be.
The primary reason it comes down to capacity, so it's a staffing shortage.
And I want to emphasize that's why they've been really deliberate on making sure that those centers are located with a warming center adjacent so that people aren't, kicked out into the cold for the other 12 hours.
Thank you, Mayor Durkan. Thank you, Tanya, once again. And not seeing any additional questions in the chat, I'm going to hand it back over to Mayor for closing thoughts.
I just want to thank everyone again for being here. Thanks to the leaders. Thanks to the thousands of city employees that stand behind each one of the people in this room who are going to be working, in really treacherous conditions over the holidays so that we can all enjoy our holidays more. And really want to urge everybody, look in on your neighbors, take care of each other, get vaccinated, get boosted, wear your mask. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. That will be the safest thing in this holiday season. We know that this, as said before, this storm could go a lot of different directions. They were at first predicting a lot of snow itself. Now they're predicting less snow, but really severe cold. And that can fluctuate too. The city will be ready, whichever way it goes, but it's going to require every one of our residents and businesses helping and doing their part, just like you've done over the last 2 years through just really unprecedented times. And I want to thank you as mayor, the way that this city has stepped up every time we've had not just a severe weather event, but a global pandemic and other challenges. So thank you very much, and everybody have safe holidays. Take care.